Hi everyone, I'm Tom Wilson. Welcome back to the Northern Gamblers podcast. As ever, I'm joined by James Dunkley, and we're going to do a horses to follow special, mainly because it gives us something to do during lockdown. We don't normally do these because this is James's profession, so he doesn't want to give away the gold, but he's going to give away a little bit of the gold, I think, in the podcast tonight. Is that right?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I did actually say to you, I said, we aren't doing a horses to follow podcast because I've spent a lot of time assembling some of these horses. But yeah, I'm really bored and I just want to talk about horse racing. So here we are.
I think the good thing is there's probably some secret ones you haven't put in, which is like some see the moons that you haven't put in, but I've then put them in instead.
I have actually got to see the moon in this list, but I mean, just basically 2-year-olds turning 3. There's 123, I think, last time I counted in my tracker. That's without other horses as well. So, and I think I picked out 12. Was going to be 10, but I thought I'll throw another couple in.
Nice.
So obviously, and a few of them sort of the potential sort of group class 3-year-olds, like they're not the ones that you're probably going to make loads of money on. You could do because they are kind of under the radar. There's going to be no Aidan O'Brien horses from me in this list. There's going to be no horses that have already won a group race or whatever. So they're all going to be slightly under the radar, but it's probably the 3-year-old handicapper section, 4-year-old handicapper sections where there's a bit of gold dust in there, hopefully.
Nice. I don't want to see anything too obvious. You get penalised with points if anything's too obvious. Yeah. No 100+ handicappers that have won by 5 lengths at York making our horses to follow list. No Vatican City, unfortunately.
That wouldn't have been too horrendous, but
who, Vatican City?
Yeah, I mean, obvious in the scheme of things, but he's only won a maiden. But...
Yeah, true. Go on then. We're going to alternate. So, seeing as you've got the gold and you've got 12, you can lead us off. Who is first on your horses to follow list? And is it in order or is it just random? Mine's random.
Well, I've written a little sort of write up for all these, which I'll post out after.
But is it ranked? Is your first one your top one, or is it just
no? Yeah. It's not no ranking whatsoever. The first few were just sort of potential group horses. And then it's sort of 3-year-old handicappers, 4-year-old handicappers, and that's it. But no, yeah, there's no ranking in order of sort of preference or what I think. It's just these are horses to follow. So yeah, first one is a colt called Starcat for Hughie Morrison. He is by Lope de Vega and out of a dam called Pur Along. Was very taken with Starcat's debut at Kempton. He's quite a unique looking horse. He's got a big white face and white socks, and so he's nice to look at. But his performance was really eye catching. On that day, there was a horse that you're going to mention, actually. I think a half brother to Thunder Snow, and also a pretty decent, potentially newcomer from the Gosden Yard called Kuramata. In the race, this was at Kempton on I think it was like the 11th of December, so just a pretty random maiden. But it's one that I think will work out extremely well and already is. Anyway, those 3 that I've mentioned, Starcat, Eastern World, is that that's the one, isn't it? Eastern World is the
that's the one in my list, yeah.
Yeah. He's the half brother to Thunder Snow, and this Kuramata from John Gosden's yard. They had a decent battle up the home straight at Kempton, and Starcat got the better of them and was quite easily on top as well, coming to the line. Them 3 pulled 5 lengths clear of the 4th, who's come out and won multiple times, and then they were 7th clear of the 5th, who absolutely bolted up the time after, and the 4th and the 5th in that race both had experience. So it was just looked a really good maiden, and I would expect all 3 of those that win to be easily 100+ rated and potentially group horses. So yeah, he's by Lope de Vega out of a Group 3 winning dam Pur Along. Cost 125,000, so it's hardly surprising that he's, you know what I mean, he could be decent. And he was actually backed in from 33s to 9-1 on the day. He had entries in the Guineas, which is obviously they've rejigged the entries, but I presume he'll still be in it, as well as the derbies in that as well. So he's in that kind of could be anything bracket, and he's looks pretty exciting. And because we interviewed Hugh Morrison at York,
I was going to say, what did Hughie say about him?
Yeah, I sent Hughie a little email just asking about Starcat, and good on him. He got back in touch with me straight away, and he said Starcat has now. This is verbatim. I'm quoting. Starcat has now matured and has an excellent temperament at home. We hope that he's improved for his debut win, but given there's unlikely to be a Guineas before June, he hasn't done any fast work yet. He's not a flashy worker, so it will be on the race course when we are able to determine his progress. Ooh. So yes, Starcat is my first one.
Very nice. Good lad, Hughie, isn't he? So got a lot of time for him. Yeah, it's nice that, James. That's not too obvious either. I mean, yeah, one run, maiden. Yeah, nice profiles. So
the form's already stacking up, and those front three, they pulled clear. Like it was an impressive maiden. Anyone should go watch that back. It was on 11th of December at Kempton, over a mile. It was the 4:40. Definitely worth a watch.
Nice, yeah. Nice lead out that. Well done. Give you that one. My first one is a horse trained by Andrew Balding called Quickstep Lady by Australia out of a dam called Strictly Dancing. Now, Andrew Balding's trained a number of the offspring of Strictly Dancing. He also trained her herself. She was kind of retired for a dam career at the end of her 3-year-old season, but she ended up being rated 91, I think. She retired rated 91, so she was decent on the track herself. But Quickstep Lady is closely related to a horse that we saw won at Chester very impressively 2 years ago. Do you remember Foxtrot Lady when we were there, who won from a really bad draw?
Yes, I do. Yeah,
and then won something like 2 out the next 4, 3 out the next 4. Was very progressive.
Yeah, she improved about 20 pounds about 3 runs. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, she was taking massive leaps forward. And of course, sorry, that's my phone. And of course, it's always interesting when you see one win against a poor kind of draw preference, like a track like Chester. Also by Australia as well. So that's very interesting as well. Let's look at how Andrew Balding has done with the offspring of Strictly Dancing. Obviously, one of those dams that is kind of kept within the yard, is very closely, probably owned by the yard or something, very closely affiliated with the Balding stable. But you see, of all of them there, all of them winners. Dance of Fire, 3-time winner. Dancing Star, a 6-time winner. Foxtrot Lady, a 4-time winner. Strict Tempo, probably the poorest, with the record of 1 from 14. And then Quickstep Lady, who's only had 2 runs on the track so far. I've already mentioned Foxtrot Lady. Was showing a little bit in novices and maiden company. But then it took until handicaps for when she really took off. So as we mentioned, that impressive 2.5 length win at Chester, coming from stall 10. So overcoming a massive bias, followed up at Carlisle, went to a better race at York, didn't win that, but then won at Newmarket and finished off the season at 3 with a win at Salisbury. So what's that? That's 4 wins as a 3-year-old for Foxtrot Lady out of Fox Wedge. By Fox Wedge. So you'd hope Australia's perhaps bringing in a bit more caliber there as well. Dancing Star. Similar one, Strictly Dancing again by a Glam. And we see the profile there of Dancing Star as a 3-year-old. First run as a 3-year-old, win at Salisbury, followed up at Goodwood, a 2nd at York, a win at Newmarket, a win at Goodwood. Really nice 3-year-old career, and rated in the hundreds. And so Quickstep Lady, 2 runs on the track so far, over 7, Newbury and Salisbury. Not bothered in the slightest that she's been getting beat nearly 10 lengths and then 4 lengths in the second start. I think you'll see the best of her in handicaps as a 3-year-old, and I expect that she'll be progressive and will kind of step through the ratings in the handicaps as a 3-year-old. So Quickstep Lady, my first horse to follow.
Yeah, very nice. You'd expect improvement going up the trip by Australia as well.
Yeah.
With the way those are progressing at the moment.
So none too obvious so far. Doing all right.
Wow. I'm gonna give out a little bit of an obvious one now. It's only had one run, but it was just so taking that day, and that's a horse called Highest Ground, trained by Sir Michael Stout. He is by Frankel out of a dam called Celestial Lagoon. This is you've got to go watch this race back, to be honest, to understand what I'm talking about. This was at Leicester over 7 furlongs, a trip obviously that you would not think is going to suit Highest Ground on pedigree. You would expect him to be more of a middle distance horse. He fell out of the stalls that day, and I mean fell out. I don't know. You can't see how many lengths he actually lost because of the camera angle, but he looks like he's lost, I would say, anywhere between 5 and 10 lengths easily. There was a Godolphin runner in this race who was an 8-15 favourite who still hasn't won, but is probably a solid late 80s horse at the moment. And there was a couple of other horses in there, so it wasn't a bad maiden by any means at all. And also
late 80s.
Late 80s? Yeah, 87, 88, 89.
It's not 1980s. We're not talking about pop music.
Early 80s, mid 80s, and late 80s. That's fine.
Decent, yeah. When you were born.
Well, yeah. Yeah, obviously being a Sir Michael Stout horse, you wouldn't really expect them to be sort of revved up on the first start either. But he fell out the stalls, quickly got onto the back of them, and he's gone and won this comfortably, pulling away. He's won by 2 3/4 lengths, but he hasn't really been asked a question. And that's over an inadequate trip. And he literally could be anything. I mean, he's very exciting going forward. He's definitely going to be a group horse. It's always interesting with Stout because he does take his time with the good horses. So we may not see him. I mean, we don't know what the hell's going to be happening with this season anyway, but there's a chance that he could take his time with him, and I doubt he'll be going to the Derby or anything like that. He'll be brought up on slowly. But yeah, he was just too exciting not to have in, to be honest. I'm really looking forward to seeing him on track.
That was Highest Ground, yeah?
Highest Ground, yeah.
Highest Ground, yeah. Okay, nice. My next one is See the Moon. This is Alla Luna. See the Moon out of Alla Speranza. She's the dam of Shine So Bright, and of course he's rated 115. Yeah, I just thought interesting. I don't know about I've got notes there up in trip. That's a See the Moon thing. Good to soft to heavy ground. That's a See the Moon thing. I think Alla Speranza's progeny actually probably prefer it good. But I just like the profile. Dam's had other good progeny. We like See the Moon a lot. One decent run on debut for Bolger. Trip angles all over the place there. Dam Stallion Sir Percy, so you think there's probably some stamina on that side there as well. Enough said. Token See the Moon selection from me.
Cool. Okay, my next one is another Highest Ground owned by the Niarchos family. I have another Niarchos owned Sir Michael Stout trained horse. This one is called Law of One. He is by Galileo. I don't know if you've heard of him. He does okay.
On the decline, I heard.
Oh, well, that's another topic.
It's a good job that Aidan O'Brien fan site isn't running anymore, because I'd be tweeting that shit out all over the. Oh, is it?
I think I've seen stuff from them today.
Oh, good. We should say that Galileo's on the decline more. Then they'll get right wound up.
Another podcast on the big stallions, and you can do all the graphs and stuff. So yeah, Law of One, Galileo by an unraced dam called Strawberry Fledge. Just a little side note to all of these pronunciations. If we get any wrong, it's not our fault. So yeah, also trained by Neoca's family. Owned by Neoca's family, trained by Sir Michael Stout. Same as Highest Ground. Now, Law of One had a debut at Chelmsford in October, and he didn't actually win. He came second. But if you watch that race back and you read the race note, he was restless in the stalls early on, and didn't actually get the smoothest of passes those days. He was sort of stuck out the back, and again, this was over 7 furlongs, and this is going to be a middle distance horse whose best trip is probably going to be 1.5 miles. And he just fails to get up a couple of strides after the line, and he's ahead. I would expect him to come on an absolute ton from that, and also probably running at Chelmsford, especially over 7 furlongs, would not have suited him whatsoever. He is a half brother to the twice placed in the Arc Cloth of Stars, whose sire was See the Stars. And they're the grand dam of them. So Strawberry Fledge's mother is a top class broodmare. She's had multiple group winners, and again under the tutelage of Michael Stout, he'll probably take his time with this horse. Who was also a late foal, was born in May, which is quite late. You don't really get many classic winners that are born in May. He is in the Derby though, but I doubt he will go, and he'll be probably a longer term project. But yeah, I liked him. I liked him being a half brother to Cloth of Stars, and to nearly win after the troublesome debut he had. Yeah, I think he'll come on a ton, and by the end of his 3-year-old campaign, he'll be a decent horse.
Yeah, nice. My next one is my most obvious. That is Almigua, is it? Or Almigua? Almigua. Yeah, Almighwar. I mean, there's no hiding from the pedigree here. It's absolutely sensational. By Debawi out of Tagruda, out of Tagruda. I mean, she won the Oaks and she won the King George at Ascot. Only one run on the track so far for Almigua. 10 for 13, beating 11 lengths at Newmarket in October. Pretty disappointing. But that's why perhaps can slightly qualify as a bit more of a under the radar horse to follow. Go up in trip, you would imagine, needs probably 1.5 miles. Tagruda, of course, is by See the Stars. So there's stamina coming through on that side as well. So, I mean, just absolutely rocket fuel pedigree, just classy as you like, loads of stamina. So should be doing stuff with the master trainer, John Gosden. Jim Crowley, John Gosden. Yeah, I think they'd be very disappointed if they're not making a lot of money out of Almigua, don't you think?
Yeah, I'm sure you would imagine would leave that debut behind and improve an absolute ton. The pedigree's just too good, but you do occasionally get flops, but
you do.
No, I think he'll be decent. Back to me.
Back to you.
Okay, so this is my last horse that I've got written down as sort of potential group horses. This is a horse called Mohican Heights, and this is an Australia out of a mare called Mohican Princess, and is trained by David Simcock. So Mohican Heights actually won a maiden over in Ireland over 7 furlongs before being sold to Qatar Racing. for £525,000. Oh, so obviously not messing about there. Moved to David Simcock, and he had one more race, and he won again in a reasonably good listed contest at Salisbury. And if you watch that race, he is doing all his best work. Later on in the race, he comes clear of the rest, and it was a very taking performance, and it gets even better when you sort of look at this horse's pedigree and you dig into it. So obviously he's by Australia, out of Mohican Princess, whose progeny includes Group 3 winner Satcham, also Group 3 winner Stayer, Eye of the Storm, who was by Galileo, who's obviously Australia's dad. And also a fellow David Simcock horse, the Group 2 placed Stayer, Curb Your Enthusiasm. So yeah, this horse to be winning over 7 furlongs and a mile as comfortably as he has been in good races says a lot about him, because he's going to be a horse that wants a hell of a lot further. And you can see I've actually in the notes that I've sort of wrote up, I went and looked at his dosage index, and it's just all stamina. Like, if you know about dosage index, you'll see this, and it's just ridiculous. So yeah, I really like him. Actually, I actually think he could be, until we sort of see the O'Brien horses and see which ones of them are going to be going to the Ledger. I think this horse is an outsider for the Ledger, a very lively one. He'll definitely stay all day. And the fact that he's already won those races and a listed race over 8 furlongs, he's not short of pace. And I think he's a really exciting horse to watch this year.
Nice. Remind us of the name.
Mohican Heights.
Mohican Heights. Okay, nice. And my next one is by Galileo, and out of the matriarch of Moyglare stud, Polished Gem. So that's a mare that Dermot Weld's had a load of success with over the years. There's a horse called Amma Grace. So she's had 2 runs so far, both in maidens. Won her maiden on second start, 1 mile on soft ground at Leopardstown in October. She's a full sister to the filly Search for a Song, who was a winner for Weld as a 3-year-old in the Galtres Stakes at York, and also in the Irish St. Ledger. She was better on good and to firm ground, so I think it's interesting that Amma Grace won a maiden on soft ground. So perhaps not ideal conditions. But yeah, I mean, Polished Gem, just really good. Again, this Amma Grace is full sister to Falcon 8. Falcon 8 was rated in the hundreds, 111. Listed winner for Weld. Placed in a Group 3 race. You've also got out of Polished Gem as well. You've got Free Eagle by High Chaparral. Free Eagle was rated in the 120s. Group 1 winner. What did he win? He won the Prince of Wales at Ascot in 2015. So like Polished Gem has just been a high performing dam for Moyglare for many years, and hopefully Amma Grace will be the next one on the production line for Dermot Weld. And so a horse that has won on the track, but also one that I think will be competing very handily in listed and group company once we get going this year. So that is Amma Grace, AMMA Grace. So by Galileo out of Polished Gem. Do you know that one at all?
Yeah, I do. I know the family well. Obviously, absolute stare in the making there. With that pedigree, and looking at the other progeny he was talking about, Free Eagle was an absolute top class horse. His progeny are on the track now. The 2-year-old turning 3. I think he had his first crop. It'll be very interesting to see how they improve at 3. Okay, so for me now, I'm in my handicappers. This is where the real gold is, probably, hopefully. And I'm going to start with a horse called Ursa Minor by See the Stars, out of a mare called Kin Cobb, trained by John Gosden. So Ursa Minor went off 4 to 5 to beat the now 113 rated Group 3 winner and potential Derby winner, Military March, back in July. He then came out on his third start. He won a race at Yarmouth, which I actually think is going to work out to be an unbelievable piece of form. I've got another horse from the same race coming up next, actually. And he won that race. But this is a horse who's going to improve going up in trip. Obviously, I said he's by Sea the Stars, the mare King Cobb. It's just a total stamina laden family. He's only going to improve. He has a Derby entry, which might be slightly ambitious, because he's only on a mark of 86 at the moment. But I could see this horse easily being rated 100, potentially even higher. He had a full brother called Lascar, but he only had 2 starts. But on his second start, he won on heavy ground, over 10 furlongs, recording a RPR of 98. And the dam's best progeny was a horse called Gemstone, who was rated over 100. Winning that Yarmouth maiden with this pedigree, and I just think the Derby entry, they obviously think he's pretty decent. I'd be very disappointed if Ursa Minor wasn't winning a few races before we find out exactly how good he is.
So that's Ursula Minor. U-R-S. Ursa.
U-R-S-A.
My next one is Chankaya. Hugo Palmer trained horse. Palmer also trained the half-brother Bedar. So Chankaya is out of a dam called Splashdown and by Dabawi. Bedar was by Rock of Gibraltar, obviously out of the same dam. What I found interesting was that Palmer won a maiden with him and then went and won 2 1 mile 2 handicaps at Newmarket and racked up a 4-timer overall in his 3-year-old season. So this Chankaya had 1 run as a 2-year-old, finished nowhere, 8th of 10th, beaten nearly 19 lengths in a maiden. Doesn't bother me. I'm trying to look at things that these horses could potentially become, rather than looking at what they've done, because no interest in that whatsoever. So yeah, Chankaya, because of what Palmer did with Bedar as well, out of Splashdown. Also, he had Actabante, also out of Splashdown by Oasis Dream. Now, Actabante was a good horse. Won novice race on 3rd start, then won the Solario at Sandown in 2014 as a 2-year-old, then was rated 108, kind of at peak Actabante. So again, it's another damn thing, really. So Palmer, obviously knowing how to train the offspring of Splashdown and bringing them along, and others in the family have been good horses. So hopefully Chankaya could keep that up. That's Chankaya. I'm going to do a summary at the end with the list of all of these, so you don't need to figure out the spelling.
I'm going to stick out just the Google document on the on the Twitter anyway. Once a few people have watched the video. So yeah, but right, okay. So my next one is quite an interesting horse, I think. He was in that Ursa Minor maiden win that I was telling you about at Yarmouth. This race is it's not worth watching as a spectacle, but I think there were 7 horses in this race, and I think 6 of them, to put it this way, the top 6 are in my tracker. I think they're all worth watching. I think this is a pretty decent maiden to keep your eye on. But the one I'm going to single out is a horse called Carlos Felix. Now, he is by Lope de Vega out of a dam called Quads Melody. It's another horse trained by David Simcock, actually.
Like David Simcock. A lot of time.
It's not the reason the horses are in the list, put it that way.
But I like him. He often qualifies on like ratty little trainer systems for exploiting stuff. So I like.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't put me off at all. He uses Jamie Spencer a lot.
He does. Yeah. It's a good effect.
A lot of people, yeah, it's a very good effect, but a lot of people don't like Spencer. But I actually do like him. So yeah, Carlos Felix, a half brother to Group 1 winner. Here Comes When. Here Comes When won, I think it was the Sussex Stakes, when Ribchester was a really hot favourite, but it absolutely tanked down. And Here Comes When won at ridiculously big odds. The ground was an absolute mess. So yeah, he's a full. Is he full? Did I say full? Half brother to him. So Carlos Felix has had 3 runs in decent maidens. His first run was in the Yarmouth Maiden I've been talking about, and this is the race note. He's held up towards rear, switched left, headway 2 furlongs out, pressing for second inside, final furlong, weakened towards finish. Probably wasn't 100% fit for it, but he travelled nicely and wasn't given a hard time. And that was kind of the story for his next 2 starts as well. He then went on and came 4th in a Newcastle Maiden that looks, again, a strong piece of form. He was 4th in that, and then he was 3rd in a Kempton novice race again, which had some decent form come from it. So I see those as three good runs, and there's definitely something to build on there. Now, the interesting thing about Carlos Felix is he was bought by the infamous Darren Yates, who bought Don Pauly and Black Lion for outrageous prices. And was it what was that jump source? He paid 600 grand.
Yeah, Indefatigable.
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but yeah.
Yeah, no one can remember the horse either.
I think got injured, didn't it? Went out for the season.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So Carlos Felix cost £180,000 as a yearling, and then was sold at a breeze up, and I presume that was when Darren Yates bought him. Would you like to? I mean, if you've read my notes that I sent you will know the answer. But let's see if you can remember. Would you like to fathom a guess at how much he paid for him?
I can't remember. 350.
Double it.
Ooh.
Yeah, he paid £700,000 for this horse.
Doesn't Darren Yates have his money from Frankie's like Magnificent Seven? That's where he got his money, isn't it?
He won a fortune, but I think he owns like a business now. So
I hope he's a better businessman than he is buyer of horses.
Well, yeah, well, he needs to.
Sounds like he is.
Because Carlos Felix has an opening handicap mark of 78. And if I'd paid £700,000 for a 78 handicap, I'll be sick in my mouth. But I think there's a lot more to come for Carlos Felix. He's been gelded over the winter. And I think he'll enjoy going up in trip. He'll probably enjoy a bit of soft ground as well. And I would.
Well, I'll tell you something. They need to win some money on the track from him.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Jesus, because they're not getting no stud fees.
He ain't going to stud. Not with no bellocks. But yeah, no, I think from a mark of 78, that nice pedigree, 3 nice runs in good maidens, open trip, maybe a bit of soft ground. I think there should be some decent improvement to come from Carlos Felix.
Good. Next one is from the Starcat race that you already mentioned. I pulled out the second. The second horse that day is called Eastern World by Dubawi out of a dam called Eastern Joy. You've already mentioned it, but just like a half brother or loads of really nice horses. Thunder Snow, Winter Lightning, Itimal. Ideal trip for this one, probably 7 to 1 mile. Probably ground versatile, but just should be a nice type. By the true King Dubawi. So 1 run for Charlie Appleby so far. I expect Eastern World to be a nice horse as a 3-year-old.
He was he went off odds on for that maiden.
He did, yeah.
So they were obviously clearly expecting him to be good. I think that just shows how good that race was, with the three of them pulling the clear, and then you've got that fourth and the fifth that have both come out and won really well since and look good horses in their own right. But these three put them to bed. So yeah, I totally agree with that one. If I hadn't have put Starcat in, he would have been on the list for sure, and he's in my tracker. So yeah. So my next one is actually also a Godolphin horse, but trained by Saeed bin Sarur.
I think I had this one as well, and I was gutted when you put it in because that meant I couldn't.
You should have said, mate, I've got a long list. I could have just changed it. So he's also by Dubawi.
Yeah, exactly. I was having my Dubawi afternoon.
Out of a dam called Mujara, I think that's how you say it. So Electrical Storm was pretty unlucky, really. He's had 5 runs and he's yet to win, but he's bumped into some very good horses in his maidens. He ran into the Gimcrack winner Fret, and then he bumped into another Godolphin horse who won a Group 3 after, called King's Command, who we did our bollocks on that race in Newmarket.
6-1 into 15-8.
I'd have the bet every day of the week, but what a disaster. So yeah, and then he came out after the King's Command race and lost by a short head to probably another decent type, and then finally he was in a Doncaster sales race. Now, obviously, these sales races are worth a ridiculous amount of money. I think this one was worth 147,000 or something to the winner. And these, obviously, with the massive prize money, these races are pretty strong, and it's a race worth watching because the front 14 are all probably decent prospects for this year, and then there was an eight length gap to the last few. They're probably shy. So Electrical Storm was 11th in that race, but obviously they have set weights in the sales races, so he was racing off the set top weight, which is 9 stone 2. I think it's based on sale price or something at auctions. Anyway, so yeah, he was unlucky in maidens, but he's actually a half brother to the fantastic Group 1 miler Ribchester. Obviously, Ribchester was by Ifraj. It was shown by Dubawi, which is no bad thing. So you would expect him to improve as turn into a 3-year-old, and you would also probably that sales race was just over 6 furlongs. You probably want to see him stepping up to 7, 8 furlongs this year to bring out the best in him, being a half brother to Ribchester by Dubawi. He sort of showed in that sales race that perhaps he didn't have the speed for 6 furlongs and be better suited going up in trip. And so yeah, I think actually, has he been gelded? I don't think he has because I haven't wrote it in my notes, but I'll check. He might have. He starts off the season. I mean, he could actually go and win a maiden first. It wouldn't surprise me. But if he goes straight into handicaps, he's off a mark of 89, and it wouldn't surprise me. Although we're up in the air regarding Royal Ascot and what's going to be happening, but he could be an ideal type to sort of squeak into something like the Britannia. Yeah, he has been gelded, so he's also been gelded over the winter. Yeah, I would expect him to be better than 89, and he could have a big mile handicap in him.
Yeah, agree. Like him. My next one is also by Dubawi. That is Dusty Dream, trained by William Haggis. I thought Dusty Dream was very interesting. So he's she is out of a dam called Memory, and is a full sister to Call to Mind, who was also trained by Haggis and won the Goodwood Revival listed stakes over 1 mile 6. I will just get up. I'm going to get up the the sheet actually, so you can see that. So this is Call to Mind by Galileo, but out of memory. So you can see one maiden, but then came back as a 3, or one maiden at 3. But then Haggis stepped up to 1 mile 6 in listed company, won that listed race at Goodwood. Eventually came 3rd in the Yorkshire Cup, 3 lengths behind Stradivarius in 2018, over 1 mile 6. I think you've also got Spacewalk as well, by Galileo, but out of memory. Spacewalk won over 1 mile 4, but is a nice horse rated in the 80s. Probably will still get better. Did you put Spacewalk in your list or not?
He's in there, yeah.
Yeah. So so I like Dusty Dream. So basically, Dubawi, same dam, get up in trip, 1 mile 4, 1 mile 6. Trust William Haggis to do the right thing. Will pick up a listed or a group race, I would expect, this season. So I think she'll be a nice prospect.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Well, I have to because I've put the brother in. Okay, my next one is a horse called Shandoz. And he is by Golden Horn out of Shabbat. Don't know if I'm saying that right, probably not. And trained by Roger Varian. So I wanted to include one of Golden Horn's progeny, 2-year-olds turning 3, as I believe they're just going to improve massively, as Golden Horn did himself, for a bit of extra distance and a bit of extra time on their backs. Shandoz had some very solid form with 3 runs last year, getting off the mark on the 3rd attempt, beating actually another horse by Golden Horn. But there was a race at Salisbury that he was involved in. And again, it's another one of these races that I think is going to be a very strong piece of form for this year. He was actually favourite that day, and that was won by a horse called Kenzai Warrior, who I do believe you tipped up actually to win the race.
Yeah, one of my rare winners and rare form winners, in fact.
Yes.
Real hot race. That race before that Kenzai Warrior was in. I think it was Miss Yoda in it as well. And I really like Miss Yoda for the Yorks.
It was Max Vader.
Max Vader, that's it. Yeah, I'm mixing them up. Max Vader, yeah. But
Max Vader came 2nd, and then they both came out, and Kenzai Warrior obviously won that Group 3 race at Newmarket on heavy ground.
And then Max Vega beat.
Max Vega beat Miss Yoda.
Yeah.
In a Group 3 race as well. So, but I just think there's loads of winners come out of this race. But that's all. That's not the only reason. It's got a really, really nice pedigree, obviously, by Golden Horn. The dam was unraced. However, the Grand Dam, the Mam's Mam, was, I'm going to say this wrong, Shashti. Now, Shashti is infamous in the breeding world, and is one of the best dams in the business.
She's so famous that you can't even say her name.
Well, it's just a stupid name. But her progeny includes
Shakti.
Shash. Shastye. Shashti. I don't know. It doesn't matter. What matters is her progeny, which includes Sir Isaac Newton, Japan, who obviously did really well last year, Secret Gesture, and a horse who will probably be in the obvious horses to follow lists from people that do obvious ones, Mogul. So obviously that's a top class pedigree line, and I just think Shandoz, he's gonna probably get 12 furlongs, but I think stepping up to 10 furlongs is going to be the making of him. And he starts off, and I think he's well handicapped regardless, without the improvement. But he starts off life off a mark of 85, and it would not surprise me if he was a 100 horse, at least. by the end of his 3-year-old campaign. There's definitely more to come. So yeah, he's an exciting one for Golden Horn.
Yeah, my next one is a horse trained by James Fanshawe. He also trained the dam Firenze. She was a nice horse in herself. She was rated in the hundreds by the time she finished. She won listed, listed level. I think she won the Boadicea Filly Stakes at Newmarket in 2006. But Fanshawe has been very good with training her offspring. I will show you how good he has been. So this is the horses that she's had on the track. Green Monkey. I think these have all been trained by Fanshawe. Green Monkey, 4 wins. Harry's Bar, 5 wins. Isla Verde, 1 win. Mazzini, 6 wins. And then we get to Lady Eleanor, who is my selection for the horses to follow list. There you see what Fanshawe was doing with Green Monkey. Started off over 6, did an out in maidens. I think Fanshawe is a bit of a handicap trainer, if I remember it. I think he likes to win maidens and novices that much. Someone will probably correct me on that, but I've got an inkling that that's true. Green Monkey, right, get him in handicaps, bang, oh, just missed out, bang, bang, bang. So yeah, nice. Fanshawe knew what he was doing with him. Harry's Bar, similar. Been pottering around there.
I've got bone to pick with Harry's Bar.
Why?
So when we went to watch Arabic, you weren't there actually, but when Arabic was running at Newcastle, this race here, the 21st of November.
Yeah, this one, yeah.
So obviously my mum has a stake in one of our horses, and she came up to watch this Arabic run. And so this race was after Arabic, and I said, oh, I quite fancy this Harry's Bar. I think it's got a really good chance. And she was like, "Oh, right, okay. Well, that's funny because we've been to Harry's Bar. It's obviously like a renowned bar. I think they've got
in Newcastle.
Yeah. No, but they've got them abroad. She'd been to the one in Italy or something. She'd been to the one in Italy. So yeah, I think it's got a good chance. So she put a bet on it, and it came third. But then look, it came out and won twice after in the 3 runs. So
well, I mean, look at his 4-year-old campaign. Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
Beating a length, beating a length, beating a length, bang, beating a length, bang.
Yeah,
I mean, it's incredible, really.
I suppose sprinters do tend to improve with 4, but yeah, I mean that's some big improvement.
So what have we gone? 78 to 96. So yeah, out of Firenze, very nice. James Fanshawe knows what he's doing. Then we've got Mazzini as well, similar. Maiden, handicap, bang, bang, bang. Not so much on that left hand side. There's a couple there, bang, bang.
Pretty good horse on Mazzini, good sprinter.
Yeah. So yeah, Lady Eleanor then. So let's find Lady Eleanor. So yeah, I mean 2 runs, well beaten on start. Then
interesting that this one's by Ifraj.
By Ifraj, that is interesting. Trip I wasn't sure about.
I just tend to associate with milers, really.
Yeah,
but it's interesting they started off at 7.
Yeah, because the others, they were starting off at 6 and then going back to 5. So, yeah, it was a big trip question that for me. I wouldn't, but I trust that Fanshawe knows what he's doing because he knows the offspring of Firenze inside out. So, yeah, I think she's a nice one, Lady Eleanor.
Yeah, definitely.
He'll be getting wins out of her.
Right. Okay. My final 3-year-old is a Dubawi.
The king.
I added 2 more to the
one
list
true king
the other night because I was bored, and this was one of them. Dubai, out of Calipatria, trained again by Saeed bin Saror. So Dubai Mirage had 2 starts last year, so he hasn't got a mark yet or anything. But they were in like really competitive handicaps, and he's ran really well, to be fair. He just failed by a nose to beat a fellow Godolphin runner called Native Tribe, who's probably going to be a decent horse in his own right. And the pair pulled 5 clear of a Gosling horse, who is now, I think he's only rated 76, but Again, to pull 5 lengths clear on your first start was quite impressive. And Dubai Mirage travelled much the best that day. Native Tribe had actually already had experience. He ran a very good race against another Godolphin horse called Encipher, who is probably going to be really shit hot. He's not on this list because he's a bit obvious, but so yeah, he travelled the best that day and was just out battled by a horse with a bit more experience. And then he went to York, and we were there actually on this day for a race over 7 furlongs. So he dropped back in trip 1 furlong, which potentially didn't suit him. And this York race, it's a notoriously strong maiden, and it was won by Molifam, who then went on to win a listed race. And the second was called Celtic Art, who was rated in about 91, I think. Dubai Mirage was third, and he was closing on the line. Again, he was probably unsuited by that drop to 7 furlongs. He's out of the Dam. Calipatria is a Group 3 winner in Germany, but that was over 13 furlongs. So I could see this horse improving again by stepping up in trip. But yeah, like those were 2 really strong maidens, and I would be very surprised if he didn't come out and win a maiden straight away. But then I could see him progressing quite a bit further as they step him up, and he could be pretty useful.
Cool. My final one is called Irish Tweed. It's a horse trained by Andrew Balding and by Roderick O'Connor, and out of a dam called Lady Brora. Again, it's a dam thing. I will show you. Balding has had success with the offspring coming from Lady Brora. You've got Brorocco, Elm Park, Highland Pass, Incline, Irish Tweed. And then this Johnny Ray was twice raced in about 2013 and did now. Elm Park, what did he do with Elm Park? Yeah, a couple of wins at 2. Did well at 2, actually. Then won a listed race at 3. But he was rated 117. Brorocco, couple of wins, winless runs in maidens and novices as a 2-year-old. Then a couple of handicap wins as a 3-year-old. Ended up being rated in the high 80s. Oh, that's the next one. Yeah, so Irish Tweed, just similar thing. Knows the family, trains them well. 1 run so far. Last, beaten 20 lengths, won't be on many lists. Could be something more than what you see in the first run.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd imagine it's a bit of a project. It's going to take a bit of time, but obviously, knowing the family, you'd expect them to get it right.
Yeah. Any more for you?
I've got 3 more.
Oof. Go on then.
These are my 4-year-olds now. So we're out with the 3-year-olds, we're into the 4-year-olds. First one for my 4-year-old is a horse called Big Daddy Kane. He is by See the Moon out of Soft Morning.
And beat one of our horses, didn't he?
Well, I'll get to that. Yeah, get to that. Trained by Marco Botti. If you've been watching some of the podcasts recently when we're talking about sires and stuff, you'll know that See the Moon is one of our sort of favourite up and coming sires. So it'd be rude not to have one of him on my list. So he's out of Soft Morning, who had a peak rating of 106. She's a pivotal dam. Was a listed winner over 10 furlongs in France as a 3-year-old. And she also had 2 higher rated progeny on RPRs than Big Daddy Kane. And they recorded RPRs of 102 and 100. So Big Daddy Kane starts off this season off a mark of 82. And as Tom has just alluded to, he came onto my radar when he beat our horse at the time. We part-owned Arabic Culture. We were quite sweet on Arabic that day. We thought he had a really good chance. But this horse was totally... he was having, I think it was his second, 4th start? Or was it his 5th? Anyway, yeah, he was his 4th. No, it was his 4th. Must have been his It must have been his
it was his first run. It was first run in handicap, wasn't it?
first run at
Handicap debut. Yeah.
Up in trip, but they didn't seem to fancy him because he drifted to about 7-1. I think he was about 4-1 when the odds came out. But yeah, he looked really impressive that day. He put the race to bed pretty sharpish, and that actually worked out to be a really good piece of form. Arabic himself came out and won, and ran with great credit again as well. I think at least once, maybe twice after. The fourth and the fifth all came out and won multiple times, and then the fifth that was in that race was a horse called Home Before Dusk. Now, it was interesting because Home Before Dusk then reopposed Big Daddy Kane at Wolverhampton. I should mention that the Newcastle race where he beat Arabic was over 10 furlongs. This Wolves race was over sort of 9.5, and you would have just presumed sort of the younger horse, unexposed. Now he's got his way and he's just going to keep on progressing. But he was actually beaten that day before Home Before Dusk, turned the form around like you just wouldn't expect, to be honest. Home Before Dusk being the older horse as well, which was a bit of a surprise. He only just beat him, but obviously beat him nevertheless. However, after that, Home Before Dusk came out, and I think he improved another 12 pounds after he got beat by Big Daddy Kane. So the fact that I think I'll come on to his stride and stuff, I think Big Daddy Kane was probably not suited by the Wolverhampton track as much as he was the galloping track at Newcastle, and that made a big difference that day. So Big Daddy Kane hasn't raced again since that Wolverhampton race. As I said, he comes into this season off a mark of 82. But I think this is a horse that could easily improve again going up in trip. He's been run over 10 furlongs. He won over 10 furlongs, sorry, but he could easily get 12. If you look at his stride pattern, he has a really long stride as well as a low frequency, and that tends to relate to having a horse who's more of a stayer. So I think he could definitely get further, and I think being out of a pivotal dam and by See the Moon, soft ground he's probably going to absolutely love a bit of soft ground. He's only had 5 starts. Home Before Dusk has frank the form no end, and I think we could see Big Daddy Kane being a good one to follow this year from a mark of 82. He could easily be 95 plus horse and rack up a couple of wins next year.
Mm-hmm. Nice, very good. I couldn't resist throwing some of these in. Yeah. Just so you can play horses to follow bingo in like any of in any of the more obvious list. So always watch out for these ones. They will appear in many lists. The well-related, obvious Aidan O'Brien horses. So Heaven of Heavens, the Full Sister, Magical and Rhododendron. Noble Prize, Cape of Good Hope, Idaho Highland Reel, Paradiso, Churchill, Clemmy. Blenheim Powerless wasn't that good. Snow, Full Sister, Kew Gardens, and Vatican City, full brother at Glen Eagles and Happily. Now back to Vatican City for the 2,000 guineas. So anti-post, so that was annoying. He was my hope, and we liked Coventry as well for the derby, didn't we? But he was crap.
It's very early days. Vatican City could have improved. God knows how much over the win.
Yeah, I don't know. I like it. I still like Vatican City. I'm going to follow Vatican City. Won't get any price though. So yeah, they're the Aidan O'Brien ones that will be touted everywhere, just to put them in the list for completeness.
I just don't see a horses to follow article or podcast or whatever. What is the point in putting up horses? I mean they're unraced, some of them. So at least that's something, or they're very lightly raced and people may not have heard of them if they're only raced in Ireland. But there's going to be lists of just group winners. So there's going to be Pinatubo on lists. What is the point of putting Pinatubo on a list? You know what I mean? He's 128 rated. He's unbeaten. He won all the 2-year-old Group 1s. Like there is literally no. If you have any liking for horse racing, you know about Pinatubo. You are just wasting your breath.
Can you imagine the waste of energy type in keys in a horses to follow list to write about Pinatubo. Who are you fooling? Who are you kidding?
It's just, it's absolutely.
What value are you creating in that moment for people who don't know about Pinatubo?
To be fair, any group winner or group placed horse, there's just no point, because the people who are going to be reading these lists are going to know them. You've got to give people something that they think, oh, I haven't noticed him, or oh, that's interesting, or but whatever. Right, I've got two more.
Innisfree wins the Derby.
Innisfree, I think Military March now.
Ah, Military March, yeah.
Especially if the Irish don't get over, full steam ahead into Military March for the Derby. Okay, last two. This one's already been mentioned. Spacewalk. Tom discussed all the pedigree, Galileo by memory. Probably a bit of an underwhelming season last year, actually. He's only rated 82. With that pedigree, you would expect more from that. One thing you didn't actually mention, Tom, was Recorder, which was another one of Memory's progeny. He only raced 3 times, but I think he must have got injured. But he's actually at stud now, and he was a really, really decent horse. I think he won the Acom as a 2-year-old, and that was his last race. But there's shoots of potential. He beat a decent horse called Paths of Glory last year. And Paths of Glory went on to be rated around 96 or 98. I can't remember.
Also beat Arabic Culture.
Also beat Arabic Culture. Yeah.
Very progressive Paths of Glory, wasn't he?
It was absolute free money that day against us, but didn't back him because of Arabic. But yeah, he's been gelded over the winter, actually, Spacewalk. And with Haggis knowing the family really well and also just being a really good trainer, you would hope he could progress from that mark of 82 and be a lot better. And then finally, a horse that I could not put in is another Godolphin horse, this time trained by Charlie Appleby, a horse called the Valorum, by See the Stars out of Lily's Angel. I don't know if anyone can remember back to Royal Ascot, but I was all over this horse for the Britannia. And the way it was back beforehand suggests to me that a fair few people knew that this horse was a lot better than his mark of 96, as I did, as I thought as well. And unfortunately, something must have gone amiss in that race, because he wasn't seen actually after that. He was backed, really heavily backed. That was the race on when Frankie had 4 winners out of 4, and then this was the next race, and everyone backed Turgenev into like ridiculous price. Like,
and he flew off, didn't he? And then he got nutted.
Yeah. Even with that market support for Frankie, Valorum still managed to go off at 6-1. Like, the money for Valorum was just coming as well.
What did he open at? 20s, wasn't it? You backed him at 20s?
No, it was like 12s, I think.
Right.
Something like that. It wasn't massive, but yeah, he got. I mean, to move a Royal Ascot market to half a price is quite a big thing to do, regardless, especially when you've got all the money coming for another horse as well. So he was extremely well backed.
You opened at 11s.
11s, was it? Yeah. This is a horse that I've just had such a high opinion of after watching his races and seeing how the form's working out last year, and unfortunately didn't really get to take advantage of it. And then he popped up at Maidan in a 7-furlong race after being gelded, and he beat a pretty decent field, really, with absolute ease. His handicap mark hasn't actually been updated yet because it was in Maidan, but I would imagine he's going to be probably around 105, 106. That gives him the option probably going to a listed race, or maybe throwing him in something like the Hunt Cup at Royal Ascot. And I truly, this could be a Group 1 horse comfortably, definitely Group 2. And I will be backing him accordingly if he turns up at a listed race or a big field handicap at something like Royal Ascot. So he's by See the Stars out of Lily's Angel. So I would have expected him potentially to go up and trip. But he came over to he went over to Maidan and he won that race over 7 furlongs easily. So clearly he's got the speed from Lily's Angel, who was a Group 3 winner over 7 furlongs. But I just think he could be top class, and he could be in the real top group races probably over a mile later in the year. Really like him.
Nice.
That's me done.
Oh, very good. Who's your favourite from your list? You spoke very well about Valorum. I sense a long and deep connection.
Yeah, but I like Valorum. Valorum was just a token pick at the end, and I just couldn't leave him out. If I was going to pick one that I think will probably improve the most from a handicap mark, it could be any of them, to be honest. I think all of those three, I reckon those 3-year-old handicappers that I gave, if you back them all season, you won't be down. It's harder to say for the top few because they've only had one run. And then the 4-year-old, I would all expect to win races as well. So that's why they're in the list, Tom. That's why they're in the list.
Oh, to get the James Dunkley guarantee.
Guarantee.
You will not be down. Oh, your money back. Oh wait, no, that doesn't happen anymore.
No, that doesn't happen anymore. And don't worry, people who will be signing up for the membership. There's 100 plus more horses in the tracker, just as good.
And even better news is I'm not doing it this year. So,
well, to be fair, none of us might be at this rate.
Yeah, I think mine are all like real just speculative things. So, like,
yours are really lightly raced
once, and then project what they might become. The one that I think will be decent, I think that Amma Grace from Weld will be decent. So I think she'll be nice and she'll win a group race this season.
I think with these kind of lists, though, like the point of them, although it seems to be missed in the general people who write them, just pick out the best bred ones, the ones that have already shown potential group form, the obvious ones that are going to be like 1 to 5 in bloody Stupid Maidens in Ireland or whatever, the O'Brien ones or whatever. But what you want is these horses that are just slightly below the radar, got a handicap mark. You think that handicap mark's decent. They've got the pedigree. They might have been gelded, and there's room to manoeuvre. You want that room where they can improve 10 to 15 pounds, because then that's winning 2 or 3 races, and then you just bin them off. You know what I mean? Once these horses have won, unless I think they've potentially got another one in them, I won't be backing them again, because once you've got that value, got that win, then the next time they're going to be a third of the price, maybe even less. You know what I mean? So it's about getting that win and getting out, and that's why you need 120 horses ready to go, but then also look at races every day and analyze them.
Would you? Yeah, I would normally get out after one, but you'd probably be more interpretive than me. That was interesting when I was doing my list, the number of like subsequent winners, just a complete pattern. Those 3-year-old handicappers, when you get on a roll, boom.
I think as well, a lesson that I'm sort of learned just from doing the tipping and the service and that, if you think a horse is well handicapped and you think they're a good bet and they lose, well, they're still going to be a good bet the next time because you did all the analysis. As long as the race conditions are similar, you thought they were a good bet the time before. They might have even been dropped a pound. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got to stick with them, and that's something that I probably didn't do enough and missed out on some decent winners that way. I think you've got to give a horse a benefit of doubt, which I do anyway. But especially when you're analysing something and you think, yeah, that's a good bet, because obviously anything can happen in a horse race, and I think you've got to give them maybe 2 or 3 chances before you drop them. And I know there's some people, some wankers, Nick from Palsy for Ratings being one, will say that's the way to getting into cliff horses. But I think you've got to give them the benefit of doubt. And if you think that horse is well handicapped, suited to these conditions, like, and then they get those conditions again if they didn't win, then you've got to just go for it. And the chances are you're going to get better odds anyway. So
I would look for. I'm just looking. Whoever a 3-year-old that ran last season that's been gelded that Tom Clover brings back. Try and find one of them.
Jesus Christ, yes.
Yeah.
What was
Whoever that is, just put an alert on for Tom Clover, 3-year-old,
That
first
needs
time
to
out
be-
gelding.
That needs to be a system, that, because I had a few of his. You had
Celsius,
the
yeah.
infamous Celsius.
Yeah,
I had one called Surrounding.
yeah.
I think that was gelded, up in trip, headgear on. It was like, just
It's
like
full kit.
it was
Tom
just.
Clover knows how to do it. He puts the full works on it, and then he just goes bang.
I think I actually tweeted him after that, and I think he liked it. Yeah. You can tell when there's a lot going on. That Celsius one was obviously pretty incredible, to be fair. I mean, he rattled off about 4 wins after that, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He was my horse of the season, won 4 from 7 or something.
Yeah.
He won 1. What did he win? Celsius. Yeah, there's the 1. Second, 1. Yeah, 4 wins out of 6 races as a 3-year-old. Bang, gelded. Opening mark of 58, ended up on 86.
Yeah, of course he did.
Just a casual £30 worth of improvement.
Just looking for my trumpet, but I can't find it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gone.
Good. Cool. Good.
I think that was good. People enjoy that, hopefully.
Yeah.
And
Thanks for listening.
Fingers crossed, we'll get racing back in the next few weeks, hopefully.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay inside, protect the NHS, save lives.
And keep drinking. Goodbye.
Right.